helpings. But quickly, let me bring in my friend. She's been around for quite a while. Today, we're keeping tabs on school reopening. The Office of Education Quality Assurance response. And joining me is my friend, Mrs. Abiola Seriki-Ayeni. She's Director General, Office of Education Quality Assurance, Lagos. Nice to have you in the building. Good morning, madam.
Thank you. Good morning.
And welcome back to the studios.
Yes.
Great.
It seems I'm constantly here as
yes.
long as you'll have me.
Okay, which is good. So, it's been a little, almost a month now since schools had this, I call it sectional or scheduled kind
staggered,
of,
yes.
okay, staggered kind of reopening.
Yes.
How has it been for most of the students in returning to school in this 3 to 4 weeks?
It's been quite interesting. First of all, thank you so much for having me here this morning. Everyone has been excited. Students, most especially, have been happy to go back to school. Parents have been happy to send their children away after about 7 months at home. Teachers, schools have been preparing for months. So generally speaking, it's something that has been very much welcome to, resume school physically. Although, like we said, it's staggered. So not everyone is in or on the school premises at the same time. And for the most part, learning is hybrid.
That's
a mixture of online, remote learning and physical learning.
Right. And the last time you were here then, when we were preparing to get them back to school, you did talk about the fact that you're going to be putting in place some of the measures against COVID-19. So have you gone around to assess all of this? How has it worked in this past 3 to 4 weeks?
It's been it's been extensive, the work that we've been doing. So during this time, we've been monitoring the reopening process. We've been monitoring WAEC. We've been monitoring the model school examinations. And in all, we've gone to about 10,000 schools since August. When SS3 students have started school. So our OEQA officers are constantly on the field and in our schools.
All right. Okay then, so for those who are not very much familiar with what you guys do at your office, we might just want to break it down for us at this point. The Office of Education Quality Assurance, what do you guys do?
Okay, so what we do is we try to ensure quality in all of our schools, and we do that primarily through monitoring and evaluating our schools. We go in, we look at physical infrastructure, we look at teaching and learning, we look at relationships with parents, we look at all those things that holistically ensure a quality education for children.
Right.
We also do approved schools. So any school within the state, anyone that wants to establish a school below tertiary level comes to our office for guidance on how to do that.
So that includes primary schools, it includes secondary schools?
Yes.
Right. Is it just for public, or do you also...
It's public and private.
And private?
Yes, sir.
So more or less, you guys are more or less the regulators
yes,
somehow?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, good.
And supporters.
And supporters too. All right. So let's take this. In terms of providing infrastructure, do you guys, are you involved in that as well?
No, we do not provide infrastructure. What we do is we evaluate infrastructure. And traditionally, it has been physical, but now with the onset of COVID-19, there's a need for also evaluating the digital infrastructure that the school has on ground to manage their day-to-day routines and also to manage the learning that happens in the schools as well.
Right. So during the COVID-19, we had this strong online presence, which you guys also supervised. Is that correct? How has it gone? The online learning for students.
Oh, the online learning, it's still ongoing, especially for public schools. So we have, and we call it remote, right? Because remote is anything that occurs outside of the school building. So we have the radio, we have the TV. We know that earlier on this year, the Commission of Education helped to launch with First Bank devices that were given to our students. I think 20,000 have been distributed, and they continue to be distributed across the state. And then for our private schools, we've noticed different types of innovations. Some have used learning management systems, some have used Telegram, WhatsApp classes, and some have gone just old school, just using regular paper-based learning packets as well.
Okay, so we're hearing that schools are going to be resuming fully from Monday. Is that very correct?
Yes, it is, sir.
Talk to us. What's the plan? What are the modalities?
Okay. So, before now, in some way, shape, or form, primary schools and secondary schools have come in, and for the most part, nursery school students remained at home. So, the Ministry of Education, in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, what we did is we engaged our stakeholders, our creche, nursery school stakeholders. We asked them to present and to give us some guidance and suggestions and recommendations as to how nursery schools should be open, if nursery schools should be open.
Right.
We know that based on global best practices, those children are not as susceptible in showing symptoms of COVID-19, and that at that level, there's a lot of hand-holding when it comes to compliance to COVID-19, because they have a lot of things done for them.
Right.
So we decided that it was a good time to open up our nursery schools as well.
So that engagement has gone on, and most of the school proprietors, they are quite aware of all of this?
Yes. So we've engaged our private and public school stakeholders virtually and in person, and we've heard everything that they wanted the government to know and to consider. We've taken into consideration. Like I said, we're working in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, because they are actually the ones that approve nurseries and creches.
Okay. All right. So from Monday now, school resumption for all classes now. That's from nursery through primary 1 down to SS3.
Yes,
everyone.
Sir. Yes.
Resuming on Monday. All right. That sounds pretty good. But let's talk about the protocols now, because even as we speak, we know that the pandemic is not over yet, but the health sector was still having a radar just to try and see what is happening across town. But provisions for preventing, or perhaps provisions against COVID-19 in all of these schools, what is OE? That's the Office of Education Quality Assurance. What are you guys going to be doing?
Okay. So, in about July, federal government, they had guidelines that they posted for all of us. And that was done in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Health and other relevant stakeholders. And we really came as an agency, part of the ministry, to figure out how we can streamline that information to make sure it's more streamlined and that it's usable, right? There's no point in having guidelines that no one uses.
Right.
So what we decided to do is, on our website, we first of all had schools register. We wanted to make sure that we know where all our schools are and that we have updated information on all our schools and our teachers, because teachers are the ones that are executing this education. And as of now, we have about 13,681 schools registered. We have about 27,915 teachers registered, and we have the breakdown for that. That varies from public, private, secondary, pre-primary, and all of that. And what they were supposed to have, what they do after they register, is that they take an online course that we've created, just a 1-hour course that is based on the protocol. So those protocols are centered on the things we know, like hand washing, wearing of mask, and social distancing. But it also centers on key things that we know are needed to ensure that learning happens in a safe environment. So like how your school operates, so we are working on operational plans for the school, how the school allows people in, how they allow people out, how they line up, everything, the logistics of how the school runs, and then also health and sanitation and safety. So, what are your nearest health centers, that are in your local government? Do you know where to go if there's a suspected case of COVID? Do you have schedules? You should have schedules for when people are replacing hand sanitizers, or those.
What about the temperature gauge?
Temperatures, it's interesting with temperature. Although that's one indicator, research is moving and changing, and it's not as much of an indicator as the holistic, the holistic indicators and the holistic approach, because a lot of people don't actually have temperatures that have COVID-19.
Right. Okay.
So we want to really make sure that we're taking a holistic approach
right.
to that as well, and then learning plans as well, right? Because we know that schools need to be ready and willing to close in the event that there's suspected COVID, or if there's a confirmed case of COVID, right? It's a new normal, right? It's nothing to be scared of or to run away from, but you need to be ready and willing to close. So what happens to learning when when and if that occurs?
Let me bring this to your attention, and that's the issue of the wearing of face mask, which you just mentioned now. For students or for pupils who are in the lower levels, would it be appropriate to suggest that they wear face masks?
Well, based on global best practices and based on the advice we've gotten from health, we know that children in nursery or children under, I think, the age of 6, I believe, are not wearing face masks as frequently, so that they will be having face mask breaks. And then also children that have pre-existing conditions, children that might have asthma or that have diabetes or anything like that. We don't want anything to further complicate their existing conditions.
I have seen some schools recommend that they just put on face shield rather than to put on the face mask. What about that?
Well, face shields, we know, do not work in totality. So it's either you wear the mask or you don't. The face shields, we know, generally speaking, works as an add-on to mask, but based on global practices, it's not effective as a standalone. Like I said, all these other things like hand washing, social distancing, all these other things holistically together can really stop the spread of the COVID-19 curve.
All right, then Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. If you're wondering who I'm speaking with in the studio this morning, I have the Director General, Office of Education Quality Assurance for Lagos, in the person of Mrs. Abiola Seriki-Ayeni. All right, so I'm going to allow you to also join the conversation, and that's on 0809-912-0777. Quickly, before I bring in these calls, I know you guys have some plans towards the end of the year from OEQA. What are some of these things that you guys are bringing out there in terms of improving the education level right here in Lagos?
Well, one thing we've noticed as a result of COVID-19 is the importance of our parents and our families and how important it is to engage them. Traditionally, we've engaged them indirectly through the schools, but of course, during this time of lockdown, that there were no schools, we had to figure out how we can make our impact more known to our stakeholders, because families are, they're the custodians of our children, so one thing we've decided to do is that we're going to have parents town hall that we're going to hold. So we're in the midst of planning that right now, and trying to figure out how we can engage parents, what their concerns are, so that as we plan for their children, as we plan for schools, that we're keeping that insight, that we're keeping it in mind,
and bringing them connected much more with the students.
Exactly, and then we also know that there's a need for transparency of information, right? That the same information that schools have about government directives and for government programming, that parents and families also need to know, because at the end of the day, that will also help to solidify the trust that they have in the schools.
Let me see if I can take some of these calls that are coming in from our traffic managers, and of course from you too. You can connect with us. Let's see if I can take this one. Hello there, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Last man, Fadikwe from my 12.
All right, Fadikwe, what's happening within the Mile 12 corridor?
Yeah, my 12 corridor, coming from Odogun this morning, this time around, is good to go now.
Okay.
Odogun, Owode, Adekunle, Irawo, down to my 12 is good to go.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, on top of my 12 bridge, to connect Koshofe, K2, there's no cause for alarm.
All right.
Just a slight one that I'm going to K2. Just a slow movement.
All right.
They're approaching Koshofe, that experiencing a slow movement, that's going towards K2. But on the service lane, it's still slow. just the market activities and the alternation going on under my self-bridge.
All right.
So if you don't have any business going through the market, just climb myself to do what could suffer.
Okay, now let's take that again. You said if you don't have any business at the market.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Hello?
Yes, hello, Fadikwe.
Hello?
Okay, we're having a bad connection with Fadikwe, but of course, like he says, coming in from Ikorodu, from Odogun, linking up with Mile 12 is much better right now. Earlier on, we had it pretty slow, but it is good at the moment, connecting Mile 12, and even from Mile 12 to Koshefe is a steady movement as well. It's from that point, towards K2, that you might have some slowness. Let's see if he's back. Hello?
Yeah, this is Larry.
All right, Larry, talk to me. You are still very much at the gas incident, right? The gas tanker incident.
Yes, that's where I'm
What's the latest?
It is that train has arrived just now to lift the tanker, the falling tanker, up. So we expect it to be off the road in any time soon.
Okay.
As it has actually caused a lot of backlog of traffic at the Lagos Abiola Express way.
All right.
Yanopaja to Ikeja. So presently now the train is on ground, and hopefully soon enough it will be evacuated off the road.
Very good.
So for those coming from, I got an alternative road for those coming from Command.
Right.
As soon as before they get to the bunker junction where you have the falling tanker, there is an entire road by the right hand side. Motorists can link there to connect Kola.
Okay. On Third Road.
Yeah, it's an entire road that links. It's called what's it called now? It's called Seriki-Ayeni Street.
Okay, Joke Ayo Street.
Yes, where the link there, because a lot of people are not aware of this, and so they are just coming in from Command to link Kola. But with this incident now,
So Joke Ayo Street, we take them to Kola,
yeah, that directs them to Kola.
and then they can connect with Lagos Abiola Expressway.
Yes, they can connect.
All right then. Thank you so much, Damilare, for that information. Okay, so that's the way it is looking like. Efforts on. I understand the crane is very much on ground at Bunkers bus stop on AIT Road to get that gas tanker off. Even though it's still cordoned off, this will be coming in from Command. You're advised by the time you approach Bunkers bus stop, he says there's a street known as Joke Ayo where you can make that diversion, and then from there you link up with Kola. All right, let's also hear from you. You have any question for the DG who's with me in the studio as relates to education this morning? Feel free to bring that on board on 0809 912 0777. Talk to me. Good morning. Hello. All right, that's a bad connection. We'll try and see how we sort that out. 0809 912 0777. We're talking education. We're keeping tabs on school reopening. And like you heard from the DG, all classes will be resuming from Monday, which is the 19th. Hello there.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. My name is Sam.
Sam, where are you calling from?
Dagada, sir.
Dagada. Okay, I have the DG, Office of Education Quality Assurance here. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, sir. This is my question. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, primary school children paid for common entrance that will enable them to get the school living certificate. And now, technically off it, and children are promoted to various classes. Some have gone to GSS1, some, anyway, they change classes. Now, what happens to those children that are supposed to write the exams, and at the end of the day, but anyway, parents have moved on, like me, but the fear is after some days, what happens when these people are unable to present their school living certificate?
Okay.
That's my question.
For those who have paid for the exams, right? So you're asking what happens to the certificate?
Yes, the state common entrance.
Okay.
So, the practice is, many children don't do primary six, but I'm not a fan of that. I want them to go through the normal complete system. When you get to SS, you can do it S1 in SS2. But now that common entrance, that certificate now, which is very important for people that might work with civil service. How did they get it? Because they don't get this.
Okay, all right.
And yes, you might have forgotten.
All right. Thank you so much. She'll respond to that. Okay, madam, maybe we should just squeeze in one more before we allow you to.
No, I think
Okay.
I would rather take it first.
Okay, go ahead then.
I think it's a valid concern, and I know it's a concern that a lot of our families have. The truth is, this is a very unique time. It's a unique time, not just in Lagos State or Nigeria, but in the entire world. And for education, the type of changes that have occurred in the past 7 months are changes that we have not seen in the past 100 years. And that's
Right.
a fact.
Right.
So we also have to be willing to shift our mindset when it comes to assessment and what is the purpose of assessment.
Right.
Now, practically speaking, we know that, when you want to evaluate a child's readiness for the next class, yes, part of it is the exam, but that's not the only thing that you use to evaluate whether a child is able to move on to the next class.
Yeah, but what he's asking, are they still going to get the certificates?
The certificates, I'm actually not sure about
Okay.
the certificates. I know that they are moving to the next class via continuous assessment. So I would imagine
That they will use that
they will
as a-
use that, exactly. They will use the continuous assessments to create, some sort of certificate for them, if at all.
All right, then let me see if we can still sneak in one call before we wrap up the into the program. 0809-912-0777. The DG, Office of Education Quality Assurance, with us in the building. We're talking about keeping tabs on school reopening. Like we said, from Monday, all classes will resume, and it doesn't matter if you are in nursery or perhaps class 1, as the case may be, or JS1, as they are fondly referred to. They will all be resuming. So there will be none of these classes being staggered anymore, as the case may be. All right, so as we gradually wrap this up on the program this morning, madam, there are lots of things that I'm sure the office is putting to bear in terms of what you want to do and how you want to move the education sector forward. What will be your response to that? What's the response of the office in terms of bringing a new level for education, even now that the COVID-19 is still very much with us?
Okay. Well, before I actually move on that, I actually want to just wrap up some of the issues for reopening.
Okay. All right.
And I just want to, emphasize that the school reopening process that has been opened on our online portal since August will close on the 5th of November, and that the training for schools will remain available online for schools to access via our YouTube page. We also want to make sure that people know, parents especially know, that the training is very, very helpful, and that it's going to prepare schools and it's going to prepare them for backup plans in case there's another lockdown, and of course the parent session will be announced very soon. Now, in terms of the plans that we have moving forward, it's really holistic. So it's from the inside out. So we're starting with our own officers and rebranding the agency, and really, wanting our stakeholders to see us as a support. In the past, we have been seen as, sort of policing schools, and we really want to change, shift that, to be that of, supporting them through progress while maintaining high standards, of course. So looking through our processes, looking through the processes for approval, whatever needs to be reviewed in terms of our processes, in terms of the pricing, in terms of how things are done in general, reviewing those things in conjunction.
Now, if parents have any issues with any school, can they engage with the office?
Yes, sir.
They can do that directly?
Yes, sir. They are able to engage with us via our social media platforms, their phone numbers, and my own direct email as well.
What's your email? I mean, for those who want to connect with you.
Well, with the agency, you can email the agency at info@oeqalagos.com. You can email me directly at dg@oeqalagos.com. Yes, sir.
All right, then that would be a sufficient point to terminate this conversation. But let me say a very big thank you to you for making it through to the studio this morning. Your parting thoughts, quickly, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. I would say stay safe. I would say do not compromise on quality. Do not compromise on safety. If your children are not feeling well, keep them at home. If there's any suspected case of COVID, schools should be ready and willing to close for confirmed cases. It is all for the better.
All right, then. So this is a very convenient point to end the conversation this morning. But let me say a very big thank you to Mrs. Abiola Seriki-Ayeni. Thank you so much, madam, for making it through to the program this morning. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, then. So next time we'll have this conversation again, especially keeping tabs on education, especially now that they're resuming on Monday. All right, so ensure you get your words to school early enough, but please take care of all the protocols that have been put in place by the office. And of course, you can always engage them as well, be it on their website or social media. And the mails that she's giving to, you can engage them. All right, then. So we have to go. Thank you so much. Automedics comes up next. I remain Victor Oteri, Korediba Michele in the building, Philip Akinwara as well. Not forgetting Tayo Akonle, our executive producer.